Okay, you guys, I'm just waiting for a few of you to get in here, and we'll begin on the Nancy Guthrie part 4 of the series. Michelle, can you hear me? Just let me know if you're able to hear this time, and we don't have to start again. Usually, if we do have to start again, it's within a 2-minute period. So just let me know if you can hear everything. Great. All right, we're just going to get a few more people in here, and we're going to start on any new findings with Nancy Guthrie, any new ransom notes that have come into play. I just need to see like how much longer this is going to drag out for them. I mean, it's a very strange case. So I need to get some questions in here, what you guys want to address with anything new with Nancy Guthrie. So just send me a request, take a look. Let me just see what the universe is telling me at this point. This is Psychic Carla Barron, also a psychic profiler, which means that I work on missing persons cases, crime scenes, that type of thing. And I actually apply my abilities to those investigations. And I have been called in by agencies to do so. It's not just something I sit here and proclaim for myself. I actually get called by departments to, give my insight into whatever missing persons case or a murder case, and they're getting stuck. The case is going cold. What can we do? And it's usually at that point where they bring in somebody like me. It would be nice if they brought me in at the beginning, then we could maybe see if that works better for them. But, usually we're the last resort, we're the last call. And a lot of times the stuff that we see ends up happening, but, it's because they run out of other options. And we are the best guarded secret out there. I mean, they don't really want to talk about using a psychic or a medium or a psychic profiler in this fashion. They don't want to be associated with it. But at the same time, I get enough requests from departments to do this. So, either it's the best kept secret in the history of the universe, or hopefully one day it'll just be mainstream and nobody will care. Public opinion will not matter at that point. All right, let me just see what's coming up first as far as Nancy Guthrie, and what is the progress in this case? Is there any progress in this case? And Nancy, I'm going to connect with you. I'm going to connect with your higher self, and I'm just going to see what, if anything, if any message comes through there. Nancy Guthrie, are you able to connect with me on this situation tonight? Okay. And she's saying yes. Okay. I'm using regular playing cards. It's just what I've done for pretty much all my life. And what I do is I take these cards, and they would not mean anything to anybody else. It's just that for me, they actually, I don't know, there's some sort of language that goes on between me and these cards. It inspires certain images in my head. So I see it in my psychic, in my third eye. I see certain visions, sometimes entire scenes, with details. So I don't know what it is about these. Maybe it's just because I'm holding them in my hand. and it's giving me a rhythm with my hands while I'm talking. And it seems to put me in that zone and I'm able to see what's going on. All right, so let me look. Nancy Guthrie, I'm going to ask once again, are you still alive on this plane? Are you still alive? Nancy Guthrie. Are you still breathing? Ah. Again, it's giving me argument over property, real estate, an amount of money, an inheritance, something like that. First thing, that's the first thing that came up. Are you still breathing, Nancy? Are you still alive in your body? Nancy Guthrie, are you still alive? Okay. Okay. She wants to get right to the information. This is interesting because Nancy doesn't want to appear to be someone that cares at this point more about herself than she does about finding the truth and protecting her loved ones. She is saying something happened within a marriage. That's a direct, like, I can't interpret this any other way. Something happened within a marriage, and they pretended to be a friend of mine, is what she's saying. They pretended to be friends with me and friendly towards me, and everything was copacetic. So let me look. Nancy, are you speaking of Tomaso? Are you speaking of Tomaso when you talk like this? Yes or no? Okay. I'm getting yes, but I'm also getting Annie here. So sorry, I'm getting the two of them. So whoever's saying I haven't watched the news, so I don't know like what their actual backstory is with this, or because I haven't had time. But whether Annie is coming out saying I know nothing or whatever, she knows everything. And I'm seeing this here. This also indicates an inheritance or some sort of promise that was made regarding funds, paperwork, some sort of contract, some sort of uh, legacy, some sort of business. So promises were made about her, and he's involved. So that's from, if I am connecting with Nancy, and that is indeed what's happening. And I've done this enough where I can say that it is, but I'm going to ask again. All right, Nancy Guthrie, are you the one communicating with me right now? Your higher self. Oh man. She's just so angry that she fell for it, is what she's saying. And again, this thing about business, land, real estate, property, uh, um, monies, accounts, transactions, something monetary. Um, all right. Is this Nanos guy, is this chief involved in this at all? Is he involved in the treachery of this particular situation at all? Nancy, I need to know, or I'm appealing to my higher guides or your higher guides. I'm asking directly. Is Nanos involved? Oh, this is weird because either he knows who it is and he's just sort of turning a blind eye and just acting like he doesn't know, and it could be somebody he's known or been friends with, but it's almost like he's pretending like he knows nothing. I don't think he's directly the person that gave the order, because I see this other person involved, and I definitely get they're retired, or this is a side gig for them. You know, it's a hush hush thing where you contact them through underground channels. Again, I'm inviting your questions because I don't watch what's happening in the news with this on purpose, just because I'm reading on it right now. So if you guys have questions about what I'm talking about or can fill me in, do so. Um, just send a request to speak and I will put you on. I'm going to look at Nanos again. Does he know? Does he know who it is? Does he know who did this? Oh, he knows. And there's a gift of money or a gift of something. He knows he got some sort of compensation for this. Is this person within the department? Are they still in the department? Do they currently still work in this department? In this law enforcement? Do they still work there? They do. Here's what's weird. I think Annie is going to tip off somebody. I think she is feeling like I can't do this anymore and I just want this to be over. I think she is the wild card. All right, I'm opening this up now. I need your questions at this point because I don't know what I'm looking at. Just send me a request to speak. I'll put you on. I just need additional questions here, additional, somebody else asking the questions. But from what I can tell, I think Annie's ready to crack. I think she's ready to get out of this. She doesn't want to be involved in this or associated with this anymore. She'll take whatever deal that they offer. And she's carrying so much weight with this, so much guilt. And she can't hold on to it anymore. And it doesn't matter anymore to her. She can't sleep. She's not doing well with this at all. She thought she would, oh, I'll be vindicated and everything will be fine. And the thing is that I don't think so. I don't think so. So again, I don't think this had to do with political affiliations as much as it did with, this private war they were having. And it just so happened that she was the mother of somebody on the Today Show. I mean, I think that's what happened, and that's why this blew up so fast. It was just, um, something they couldn't. It was like a runaway train. They couldn't stop it, even if they wanted. So again, I just wonder. I just wonder. I wonder what deal they're going to offer her, because I definitely see some sort of deal coming across the table. Like, she's ready to crack. She's ready to say, okay, I'm done. She just can't, she just wants her life back in whatever form she can get it in. And I think, let me look at Tomaso for a second. Let's look at the husband. Let's look at Tomaso and see what his story is. how is he feeling with this whole thing? How is he faring with all eyes are on him at some point? Let me look. Okay, there he is, Tomaso. Well, I don't think he's, a favored citizen around there. I think he's got some issues with people just glaring at him. So, it's definitely not pleasant. Is Tomaso guilty of this crime? Is he guilty? See, I still get a friend of his was deployed into this whole thing. Like, there was some sort of an agreement, some sort of an arrangement, some sort of payoff. And I still get it's a friend of his. Details, or was he involved in any of the planning stages of this abduction? Well, he was the one that arranged contact with her, saying, "Hey, um, I'll." I think he arranged like the semantics of driving her back, driving Nancy back, and I think he offered. Oh, I don't want to see you taking an Uber back. Let's, let me take you back. And it was all very natural the way it unfolded. But I think that was his job, was just to secure her, Let me ask if any of this is going to resolve. Is there going to be a resolution in this case file? Yes or no? Hmm. This is telling me that, again, I'm being pointed towards Annie. Like, she knows much more than what she's saying, and it looks like she may come forward with some information. I definitely don't get Nancy is breathing at this point, unfortunately. And again, I hope this is that one big time where I'm wrong. I don't have to be right all the time. I do not have to be right all the time. Let me look at this. And it does look like she may turn state's evidence. She may say something. She may say something just to end this whole ordeal. Let me ask if Nancy's body is still intact somewhere. Nancy, is your body still in its original form somewhere? Like, were you buried somewhere? Were you stashed somewhere? Is your body still intact? And forgive me for how that sounded, because I'm not meaning any disrespect, but I need to look at the semantics and the detail. Okay, and in the meantime, I put you on, Janine. Janine, your mic should be on.
There? You there?
Mhm.
Hi.
Hey, hun. So, let me just look at that one last
Go
question.
ahead.
See if
That was
her
a good
body,
question.
if Nancy's body is still in her, in the body's form, or if she's been just, something else was done to her body in order to make it disappear. Let me just see. Nancy, is your body still in a form that's recognizable and can be tested? Yes or no? Nancy, is your body still there? She's definitely not still here, and she's saying no, it's not. So let me see what happened. Was your body reduced to, and again, apologies for how ruthless this might sound. So, is your body, have you been reduced to ashes? Was your body burned? Let me look at that. Nancy, was your body burned? Was it burned? There's the body, there's the death, there's the arguing, and then there's the end of it. Was your body burned by flame? No. So it was not reduced to ashes, but it was altered. Okay. And then again, she's pointing to, a younger woman with darker hair. So I'll just say that. Nancy, was your body, there was some suggestion, somebody like wrote an email to me, some suggestion that her body was reduced by some sort of acid compound, like lye. Like lye was introduced with the body, and the body was melted into liquid form. Let me see if that was the case. Was there some amount of lye or other chemical used on your body? Now that one I'm getting much more of a positive answer to. So let's just say that that's maybe what had happened. Can anyone discover still any parts of your body that haven't been degraded yet? It's not going to be about the body, but it will be about the evidence once they get to this financial deal, this uncovering of records. There's some sort of title transfer or some sort of financial record. There, it appears that there is. They made a mistake. They made a mistake with something. They either didn't put the right date or something. It was a simple mistake, but the error will cause it to be flagged when they look at it. Again, this has to do with a property, a deed, something of greater value. It's not just like, a piece of jewelry or something. It looks like it's more like a deed or who owns the land at this point or something like that. Okay, Janine.
Hi.
Good evening. What's your question?
I was wondering if Annie has had any contact since with her mother, physical contact with her mother since Nancy was abducted.
So you want to know if she actually visited?
Yeah, if Annie had contact with her.
Okay, let me look.
Mm-hmm.
Did Annie, the daughter, have any contact with Nancy or go to see her where she was being held? Was she anywhere near there? Annie. Was Annie anywhere near Nancy after the abduction? I get more Tomaso actually than I do
Okay.
Annie. And I think Annie might have been in the car. or in the vehicle on the way over. So she knows about stuff, but she didn't go in on purpose because they needed somebody that wasn't going to get emotional.
Okay.
So I think that was on purpose. Why do you ask?
I just was wondering if she, after they abducted her, Tommaso's her husband, and she knows so much, I guess, which I surmise she does, if she had interaction with her mom before her mom died, between that time that she left. I don't know. I just
Let me
had,
see if she even asked. Let me see if she even asked to, and then she was told, no, you better stay back. Did Annie even request to see her mother once the abduction happened? No.
mm,
So
mm,
I think she was more afraid of losing him than she was of losing her.
yeah, I think so.
And that sounds horrible, but that's what it looks like.
Hmm.
She was more afraid that Tommaso would walk out on her and she would have no one. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. Well, karma is karma. So,
Hmm.
again, this is a psychic read. I am taking a look with what I do every day and I'm applying it to this case. And I have worked these cases, very high profile cases, for many years. So this isn't something that I just decided to do as a hobby. This has been pretty much for, the better part of my life now. I've done this. So, and I've been asked by departments to do this in different agencies. I have, in fact, worked for both the FBI and the CIA in different circumstances for different cases. But of course, they have to keep that sealed, you know. But they have asked me, and I've done my thing for them. And then and of course, none of that is paid. I just do it because they asked, and they bring me in. Usually it's over the phone because I'm better when I do remote work versus that's why I do it that way because that's why my regular readings are that way too because I get distracted with visuals in front of my face and then I have to disregard everything I'm seeing in front of my face and then look at the image behind my eyes. And it's just easier if I do it from I'm on the phone and it's just voice and then I can look and then I see so much more. That's why that came to be. It's not that I can't work on the crime scene itself. It's just that we found out that my skills work better when I work remotely. No distractions, nothing taking me away from the actual case or the details that I'm looking at right there. I get overwhelmed when I'm there in front of it, or I'm looking at a cadaver and I'm looking at mutilations, or I'm looking at, what's left. And it doesn't give me more information. It overwhelms my system, my psychic senses. So I tend to, it's better for me if I just see it from afar and I'm able to clinically look at it and then discern what's going on. Um, So any other question, Janine, about like what's the latest news on that? I don't even know.
You know what? I don't know either. I had a crazy week so far, so I really haven't heard anything unless someone else is. But
Well, if anybody else knows what's gone on this past week, chime in and let us know what's happened. But from what I can tell, it looks like Annie is about ready to crack. She's about ready to turn. They have been working on her sort of silently, saying, hey, look, we'll cut you a deal now, but that deal won't be offered later. Like that deal stands now, but it won't be later, kind of thing. And I think she's just wanting this to be over. Now, her husband's a different story. He doesn't want this to ever come out ever because this is just the end of everything then. So he wants to have this disappear into nothingness for as long as eternity lasts. So I feel like when I look on the timeline, let me just look to see if there's any timing with this. What is the timing with Annie and any possible, you know, confession or semi-confession or something where she slips and she says something and then they have to do a deal with her? What is the timing on this on the timeline? Okay. Okay, this is saying I'm on the right track. So give me the month where this is happening or how many weeks from now. Give me the time frame. Yeah, it looks like her. And it looks like it's because of some sort of argument. Maybe he starts the argument with her. And is just, it's one too many times with the psychological abuse and she's just done. She's just done. And maybe he's nervous, and he's going extra hard on her for some reason. But it looks like she's coming up again. So we must be getting closer to it because this is the first time where I'm zeroing in on her as maybe being the turnkey with this whole thing. Does that make sense, Ginny?
Yeah, it does. I would
In what way, though?
I would hope that she gives them something or she confesses or whatever. Like I hope something transpires.
Well, I don't think it's because of the regular reasons like, oh, she's just, she's doing her daughterly duty. I don't think it's that. I think it's more that she has a very sensitive system and she can't take much more of this. She's going to have a nervous breakdown pretty soon. It looks like she can't handle the pressure with this anymore. Like she thought it would be over by now. And I do get her husband sort of goes hard on her, like almost like psychologically punishing her so she keeps quiet, you know?
Wow.
If I go down, you go down, that kind of thing. But I see that she can't take much more. So it's more for that. It's more for self-preservation, and she knows it's the right thing to do, and she just can't do this anymore.
Not about guilt, right? Or right or
It's
wrong.
not
Right.
about because she didn't order anything. She just kind of went along with it, and she knows about it. It's not like she was in on the planning. She just found out about it.
Mm.
So, she stumbled upon something, and then she had to be read into this situation, and they didn't want her to be, but it was inevitable that they had to say something to her. So, I mean, she's being suppressed by her husband, from what I can tell. A lot of anger going on there with that husband. I mean, he's just like, for him, it's like, well, she's gone, so let's get over it. You know what I mean? It's like he didn't even take a beat with that whole thing. Like he's not suffering from this at all. Well, she's gone, get over it. So strange. All right. So what are the other questions? Anything from you, Janine, or should I release you and then
I
we
guess
add
you
some
could
info?
release me for now. If I think of something,
Okay.
I'll jump back in. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. All right. So again, I need your other questions about this case. as far as, oh, I was looking at the timeline. So if you need to get on here and speak, just submit a request and I will put you on. Let's look at the timeline. How soon before Annie cracks? Because that's kind of where I'm going with this read. It looks like something might happen in the month of May, where I think he goes too far with his suppression, and his belligerent behavior towards her to keep her quiet and subdued. And I think her husband just goes one step too far, and she's ready to roll over. She doesn't say anything about it, but she's ready. When will this actually happen? When will we get first word of anything happening? Okay, there's the message. Yeah, it still could be like at the end of May, beginning of June. That's what I'm getting here. Is where we're ready to. This is where she's finally done. I don't know what he does, but whatever it is, it's making her so uncomfortable and it makes her scared for her life. And that's when she decides, okay, that's too far now. That's where Annie decides, okay, I was the dutiful wife. I played along as far as I can go, but now this is getting scary. And does she miss her mother? Let me look at that. Does Annie miss her mother, like emotionally? Does she miss her mother at all being gone? Well, I think from the point where she joined with him and they were a couple, I think that's where Annie's veneer started getting chipped. That's where little by little comments were made and little looks of disapproval when she got with Tomaso. I think that it began then. And before it was like, oh well, she's not the shining star that we had hoped, but we still love her and she's like the shy little thing. But then I see when she joined up with him was when the eyebrows were raised and she was, the glances and the looks of disapproval started. And I just think that that's when she just started going further and further away emotionally, started detaching herself from the family unit. Because no matter what she did, it wasn't enough, you know? Very interesting how she's coming up so much in this reading. Maybe it's because she's finally, it's bubbling to the surface now and she's ready to just do it because she's done and she's carried too much of this. And this thing has weighed so heavy on her and she can't sleep at night. She doesn't feel like her life is her own and she just needs to have peace again, to have a peaceful existence at whatever cost. If she has to serve time or do whatever or make a deal, then she will. And I think it's more along those lines. I think she doesn't have a choice now. We'll see if this pans out the way I'm seeing, but that's kind of what's coming up. Okay. So I need to know if anybody else has any other questions. I mean, this is like part 4 in the series. I don't want to make it too long if we don't have anything new, but if somebody has a question that didn't get in on parts 1, 2, and 3, you need to ask me now. Because if you try to type it to me on YouTube, I can't look. I read all the comments over there, and that's fine, and I get through all of them, and I read what everybody has to say, but I can't just start reading off questions from YouTube and then inserting them in this live. You have to be a follower here on Twitter X, whether you hate it, whether you love it, whatever the story is, it doesn't matter, because you can have a security lock on your account. You don't have to participate if you don't want to with anything, but this gives you a chance to ask the questions on the live spaces. So again, that's how that works. So I would love to just have this batch of questions. I mean, there were probably 100 questions thrown at me after the last one, and I appreciate it, but I can't just start reading questions and then doing answers. It's better if you ask the question for energy purposes. It's better if you ask the question directly on the live and then I answer the question from what I see. Okay, that's the reason for that. It has nothing to do with engagement or whatever on social media. It has to do with the way that my skills engage in this whole thing. And my skills are activated when I go with a voice print, a voice pattern. And that's how I'm able to see things. And I'm able to see the truth. And I'm able to see a timeline and other details I wouldn't normally see. So that's why I encourage you to be on here, even if it's just for these, that's fine. All right, so I'm doing last call now for any last questions on this case. To wrap it up, from what I've seen so far, I mean, Annie's coming up pretty prominently in this thing with her husband, Tomaso. As far as the body, I'm not getting it's that the body is intact in its original form still. So I think there was some sort of disposal of the remains. And I do get a chemical is involved, such as lye or some strong acid of sorts, in order to conceal the body. I obviously I don't sense that Nancy is still with us, but she's still here in spirit. I feel her big time. She's still around talking to me right now, and she's kicking herself on the other side right now, going, how did I not see this coming? She's mad at herself right now that she didn't see this coming. But the whole reason she wants to get involved at all in seeing this through to its conclusion is to protect the rest of her family, because they're in danger with this. From her vantage point, they're in danger. So that's kind of where we are as far as time frame. I'm getting, end of May, beginning of June right now, as far as like any turnover of information, any turning state's evidence to make a deal. I'm also getting very, very, very strongly something about real estate, a deed, a property deed, something like that. Some sort of error was made where it will get flagged and they'll see something was done right before her death or like right after her death. And they'll see this. They'll see some sort of discrepancy there. It doesn't match something else. And that's where, they do a forensic sweep and they look at the document and they see that it doesn't match the other one. So there's something wrong there. Either a forged document, the signature isn't the same, something, because they take a fine tooth comb through this once it's flagged. And then it's just a matter of time. But this property thing, this amount of it's either real estate or land, a property deed, something. Something. It could be inheritance, but I still get it's connected to property in some way. And the last thing was uh, looking at. I mean, I know a lot of other stuff is going on in the news, like these YouTubers that are hanging out at the crime scene and like traveling there in groves and just setting up shop and tables and microphones and doing their thing. Look, I mean, if that's how they get followers and that's how they get paid, that's fine. But, I mean, it can be disruptive to, the investigation. It could disrupt like any evidence that could be possibly found. Yes, sometimes those individuals uncover things that, the other investigators missed because they're so overworked, and they can find things that other people don't find. That's fine, but there's a protocol, there's a way to do that without obstructing the investigation. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I think I covered most of it. Any last questions? Janine, did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so.
Just trying to see if there's anything else that because I know we're all drawn to, oh, where's the body, where's this? But right now, from what I'm seeing, I do see there is a disposal of remains. So, I don't think there is a body per se to dig up. I think there was something else done to it. And I'm not so much getting burning like cremation. I'm not getting that. I'm getting more chemical in nature. Okay, I'm going to leave it there.
Okay.
If there's no other questions, I'm going to get this up within the hour, and you guys can go to YouTube, make your comments known. It'll be up on all the other platforms. It's usually on YouTube last, and probably tomorrow morning I will have to do the usual switch over from private status to public, because even though it publishes as public for the first, I don't know, like 8 hours or so, for some unknown reason, podcasts, when they come over from Spotify, they switch over to private status, even if you have it set at public for all time and permanently set to public, it somehow magically turns into private when I wake up in the morning. So I'll switch it over as soon as I wake up, and we'll do that. But it should be public for a while, for like 8 hours before it does that magic switch. I'm not really sure what that's about. It's a glitch in the matrix. It looks like it has to do with some sort of coding they need to fix over there. But in the meantime, I do the manual switch. And I appreciate all you guys tuning in and checking in the live. And again, if somebody wants to join this live, you don't have to participate. This doesn't cost anything. I don't monetize this. You just come on Twitter. You don't have to pay to be on Twitter unless you get premium. There's no real reason for that. You can get a security lock on your account. Janine, don't you have a security lock on yours?
Yes.
And how does that work? Can you explain for the people so that I've never done that because I've always been on here as a public figure. So tell me how that works.
I just put a lock on it, um, just because I was being followed by certain people,
Okay.
and I just wanted to protect where I was and what I do and that kind of thing, to
Okay.
protect my own self. But I've never had a problem since I've done it.
Good. And
So,
did it cost anything for
no,
you to
absolutely
okay.
not. Mm-mm, nothing.
And you found it was pretty easy to come on the spaces, even though you had a lock on your account.
Oh,
See, you're
yeah.
able to talk. You're able to talk. You're able to keep your account with the security lock on it. I think that's what most people are afraid of, that they all of a sudden become public when they're on here, and it costs something. It costs nothing, guys. You just come on, and I usually do these on Friday night, unless I post and I've got some other special personal thing I got to take care of. Um, I will always announce on Twitter every morning what's going on, and make my first announcements when I first come on, and then I'll pin that to the top. So that way you guys know what's going on, you know my schedule, you know what's happening, and I keep you in the loop. Thanks, Janine, for
Sure.
explaining that,
Yeah,
because I
thank
didn't
you.
know I didn't know how that
It's a
worked.
great space too, it really is. So,
Well, and I'm, again, I'm calling for last call for any additional questions that weren't asked about the Nancy Guthrie case on any of the previous podcasts in this series. This is episode 4, but if I didn't answer any of the to speak, if you have a question about Nancy, I'll let you know if I've already covered it, and I'll just state it again what I see. But otherwise, that's how it works when you get on these spaces. Okay, so I'm doing last call now. For anybody that has any questions about Nancy Guthrie, something that wasn't covered, some sort of information that's been sticking in your head, like as you look at this, and you just need answers, and you need me to take a look at it, I will do my best. But just submit a request to speak, and I'll put you on real quick. So if anyone has that question, ask now, or we'll save it until next time. But let me see, there's one more person that wants to get on. Okay, Bianca, I think you're on. Bianca, you need to turn your mic on. Yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
Hi. First off, I just wanted to say I really love.
Can I interrupt and have you turn your television or
Oh,
whatever?
I'm so sorry. Yes, I'm
Okay.
so sorry.
Can you turn that down a little bit? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I can hear it bleeding through.
My apologies. I loved your whole series so far. I guess I'm jumping in late, so
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
No,
Um,
it's fine. I mean, that's what this is for. I mean, it's for anybody that has any questions that weren't asked before.
so
So welcome.
I'm not sure if this has been asked before,
Okay.
but I do really like the theory. And once you started to talk about that, things shifted when Nancy got in the car and Tomaso had T had the
You
maybe
can say it.
weapon.
Well, I've been saying his name for the whole
Okay.
podcast. So
I guess my question is, when did the other person, did they, that's where I kind of I do believe he had an assistant, and that was the person that did the most of the dirty work, I guess you could say.
mm.
I guess I'm wondering, where did they meet up and then go to Nancy, her house, or did they? I guess I'm kind of was wondering that. Like, did they take two cars? Did
Okay.
they? That kind of part. I was kind of like that's where I get sort of like, because I could even see them either not going to her house or going to her house. Like maybe Tommaso needed something at her house, so they were like, "Well, we got to go to the computer at the house and do the whatever they had to do." Like I believe they did need her alive at a certain point to do whatever they needed to do, and I do believe Tommaso did something digitally to cover his tracks or
Yeah, and
whatever.
earlier in the podcast tonight, I mean, I was concentrating. The first thing that was coming up numerous times was about a deed, a property deed, or
Right.
something like that.
Mhm.
And that was coming out, real estate property, something like that, where there's going to be a discrepancy in documents, like either the signatures don't match, something doesn't match, something isn't matching up with the other one, or an earlier version of the document, something like that. And once it gets flagged, then they do the forensic sweep and go in and you know take a
Unravel it.
gun.
Yeah.
Right. So let me look at this, the joining up and the teaming up of Tomaso, if it is indeed him, which he's coming up prominently here, so I have to go with what I'm seeing. Don't come at me, guys. This is a psychic read, so this is what I'm seeing happening. Let me see if the teaming up, if the other individual that I definitely feel is involved in law enforcement, or retired law enforcement, or agency, government agency that deals with investigations. Okay. So let me just see, how did they arrive at the same place together? Were they at the house together? Tomaso and the other individual, his friend, that he went through underground sources to secure. Was this person did was this person already at the home when Tomaso arrived?
Or in the car. Like I was wondering if he was sitting in the car once they got in the car, or
I'm looking.
somehow.
I'm looking. Okay. Was he in the car to begin with and just hiding in the
Stop, stop. Guys, stop. Sorry, my dogs.
It's okay. Uh,
Ah,
Let me take a look. No, I don't think he was in the vehicle. Um, was he waiting at the house when they got there? He's definitely coming up at the house, and he's definitely the one that did the dirty work, for sure. He was preparing the house.
yeah, that was another part of my question. Was he there sort of while they were having dinner at Annie's house? Like,
Yep, he was there earlier. The
I had
second
a feeling.
the second
Hmm.
she left, he made his way in.
Yeah, that makes
Yep.
sense.
The second she left, he was in there. I see him wearing gloves. I see him preparing the syringe. It looks like a syringe. Let me see if anybody else was there, because wasn't there some sort of talk? Correct me if I'm wrong, if this wasn't the right case, but wasn't there somebody that they were mentioning, like, had medical training or something, and they were there to administer like a shot to her or something?
I was only thinking at some point she had a caretaker of some sort living in her casita, the back house at some point, but I believe that person wasn't living at anymore in the back.
Yeah, but I meant like during this ordeal. Like, for some
Oh, I see.
thought I read somebody was coming up with that scenario, but I don't get anybody else but these two people and Nancy, the three of them, and I don't get anybody else was involved in this. It was just the three of them, to keep it tight, to keep it moving. Uh,
Yeah, the question people seem to always love to ask is, why didn't anyone come forward? Well, if there's two people, and I think Annie knows, so
mhm.
three people who at least know, then nobody's gonna come forward. Not for 1.2 billion. If they're all gonna go to jail, they're not gonna get any reward.
Well,
Like,
I don't feel that it's something, earlier what I was talking about was Annie was coming up as, it wasn't so much a feeling of guilt, but it's more like the heaviness of this is weighing on her. And I got like psychological abuse of some sort from her husband. Like, you keep quiet, or certain threatening
or
statements
else,
were
yeah.
made. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I get that she was living in fear, and she still is. That there's some sort of threat of him leaving. I'll leave you. I'll leave you if you even whisper one word of this. Like, how would you like to live alone? No one else will want you. You're not that pretty, this and that. And that's the thing. I mean, I think that it has more to do with, more to do with the psychological twisting of her confidence level, and how she feels about herself. And he was deconstructing her. And
Yeah.
that's what I've been picking up about this. And that's why I think she'll turn state's evidence. I think she will turn. I think she's
Hmm.
close to it now. And what I picked up as far as time frame earlier, you can catch up on the
Right.
early part of this podcast, was around sometime in the month of May, inklings of this will come out. Like he goes one step too far and she is in fear for her life. She is just shaking like, okay, I'm out now.
Yeah, I mean, even her body language in the second video where she just has her eyes completely closed. I mean, she was like,
Yeah.
I mean,
She's
that's what,
she's fearing
yeah,
for her very life, but
yeah,
I think he may have even gotten a little physical about it too one time, or that is coming. It looks like it's within the now time frame is what I'm picking up, is that, as we get further into this, the more she has to stay quiet is imperative. So I think he drives that point home, and he accidentally does it in a physical way as well. And that's where I get the problem. And that's where she is decided then, okay, I'm out. I don't think it's so much that I get almost apathy a little bit with her mother, like she was never really the favored child.
yeah, the middle child. Yeah, I could see that Savannah was definitely the favorite. That's pretty obvious.
Well,
Savannah's life and her mother are very similar in many. They're both journalism. They both. I mean,
and
I
they're
could.
outspoken, and they have, and
Yeah.
I didn't get, everybody was going down that one theory, that one rabbit hole about the political affiliations and Epstein and all that. And it has
No.
nothing to do with that.
Mm-mm.
This is a
Yeah.
very private war that is going on inside this family. It's just that she happened to be the mother of a famous person, a famous anchor on the Today Show. So
Hmm.
that's what this was all about. Um,
Gosh, I'm so sad. I just jumped on it right at the end, so I do have to rewind. But
yeah, no,
I always thought Cameron was sort of like on the side, but then like he seems to be kind of like there too, and I'm kind of like,
well,
where does he kind of fit? Like, is
let me look at him for a second. Let me look at Cameron.
I would think he would be suspicious of Annie and Tomaso, but I don't know. I don't know because he was the first person to suggest it was a ransom and a kidnapping, and I'm like, some of the things
Well,
Savannah said publicly is like throw me completely off because I'm like, why is she saying
let me
like
see
where did
if
she?
he knows anything about it. Is Cameron privy to any of the information regarding this kidnapping, this Nancy Cameron? Cameron's aware of something, some sort of knowledge about this ahead of time. But it just didn't do anything about it because there wasn't really anything to do in the very beginning. Like, it wasn't sure whether they would get targeted as well.
Hmm.
Wasn't sure, but had knowledge of, yes, had knowledge. I don't know how much knowledge, but it looks like there is some knowledge of this. Like stumbled upon a conversation, knew something, and just kept quiet because Cameron didn't know all the facts, didn't know how far it stretched, didn't know how much of law enforcement was really involved, you know? So it was a very tricky landscape to get around. Um, Ask me what else about Cameron before I leave Cameron.
Did Cameron ever suspect that Annie and Tomaso were perhaps um
Involved?
financially manipulative of his mother?
Oh, that
Li-
there were
Like were that they were constant. I see. I'm confused. Like, did Nancy ever tell anyone? I've had the feeling that Annie and Tomaso were like sucking money out of Nancy, and I think she kind of was like,
so you feel like there was some sort of extortion going on prior to the
or
kidnapping?
they were just always asking her for money constantly, and she was.
Okay.
I-
Let me
And
look.
then and
Let me
then but then it's like, did this other siblings know about this, or did Nancy just keep it quiet,
Well,
or
let me see if that's
even
even
true?
true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me see if that's even a thing. Um, was was there previous bleeding of funds, from Annie Tomaso, asking for a loan,
Right.
saying they were up on hard times, they needed some money to get further. Did any of that happen in that family? And were they asking Nancy? Let's see. Just relax while I look and see what that is. Well, it was okay. I think Annie wanted to, and I think Tommaso, his pride wouldn't let him. He
Hmm.
would be damned if some woman helped him out of a situation. It was almost like he felt um, you know, some sort of uh, not it wasn't so much pride, but it was like he would be damned if he would be seen in that light as someone who was begging for money in that family. Like he had a bitterness towards them. Does that
Yeah,
make
makes a lot of sense. He seems. I could see.
like
I
his
could.
walls went up whenever somebody would suggest, "Oh, you just wanted money from her," or something like that. And I think he just got very stiff with the idea, like, "Oh no, look
Hmm.
somewhere else for that." Because I just think that it was a matter of pride that he would never succumb to such a thing, but he would work around it and do it this way instead. you know and I think he made her do all the 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 planting the seeds of, hey, give me this, or let me run this for you you know
Hmm.
and I think it was Annie doing most of that, and then they brought her back in when she was starting to waffle a little bit, and it looked like Annie might even you know like want to step out of the whole thing, and they were like, no, 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 we need to keep her in this somehow. So I think she was the one that was the sympathetic voice, asking, hey, I can do this for you. And I think they got her to do it, got her to ask if
Hmm.
if any asking was being done. But Tommaso, that
Yeah.
was that was not going to come out of him. He would die first before he would ask for.
Yeah. Too much pride. Yeah, I could see that, or just that machismo, kind of like the.
Mhm. Yeah, he had a
Um.
he had a whole alpha thing going on there. So I believe that what's going to happen is Annie is close to making a deal. I think they've been working on her, like sort of behind the scenes, saying, look, if you know anything, come forward now, because it's going to be so much worse for you at the end if you don't.
Right.
And I
Right.
think they're slowly working on her, planting the seeds of make your deal now, because this deal will go bye-bye, by the time I get to the end of it.
Right. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think,
And if she's got low self-esteem, if she's been sort of like battered or even psychologically by him for over years, or
yeah, she has.
so, of course it would take like a huge impetus to kind of
Well, I see him stepping over the line, because
which
as we,
pushes her finally. Yeah, that makes sense.
as
Yeah.
more pressure gets on them from the outside, and they're working on her, they're working on him, they're working on them separately, at different times. And, he's wondering what she's saying, and she's wondering what he's saying. And of course, the other investigator, possibly retired detective, this other guy that they got in underground type of communication,
Hmm.
they secured this guy to come in, and for a fee, he will make it disappear. I think that she found that she was the most vulnerable in all of this, and that he kept working on her, and he kept battering her psychologically, and just threatening her, like, I'll leave you, you will be alone, you are not exactly what I consider attractive, and you will be alone, and I will make sure that you know this. And so I think I think he was just daily brick by brick,
Hmm.
and I think the point where I see this tipping is that he goes too far one day, and it looks like it's happening in the month of May, because he's starting to get concerned, like, the vultures are circling, either with law enforcement, or something's happening, like a discovery is made, possibly this document that I had seen, this deed, or whatever this was, where there's a discrepancy, and they uncover it. He's starting to sweat now, and he's wondering, and I think he takes it out on her, and I think it may cross over to physical abuse at that point. And that's where she's just like, okay, I don't want to die at the hands of this guy.
Right.
I don't love him enough for that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. On Monday, I think it was Monday. It was the day Savannah came back on air. He
Right.
went to the house and he was seen at the house, and just the way he drove up to the house, drove in the driveway, dodged like whoever was outside filming, just you could tell he seems like this is not just like carefree, happy-go-lucky, calm individual, like
Well,
he seems like he's about to explode, he's trying to keep it together, just the way he was briskly walking,
well,
and I mean,
the word I'm getting is territorial with him.
mm,
He's territorial. So,
yeah,
I think he's just protecting as much as he can for as long as he can, but I think she's getting the brunt of it. The
yeah,
and that's where I see that she makes the decision one day, and it looks to be end of May, beginning of June when this happens. And I think she makes some sort of a deal, immunity deal or something, and possibly they move her into witness protection. I don't know. But she ends up making this deal, and that's where I see everything happens very fast then. And it's because of this uncovering of this discrepancy. You know, it's weird. It's like I'm not seeing it being, oh, they found remnants of like certain bodily fluids or this or that, and it's like a
The
medical.
DNA. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not along a medical line. I think it's more of a documents or something happening like on a cyber
Right.
find, and on that type of cyber discovery where there's a discrepancy there. So,
Which in
what,
a way makes sense. This was planned pretty well.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, it
I, d-
was, and for a
I-
while too.
yeah, and I do think, like you were saying, the breadcrumbs of the blood outside. People are constantly getting tripped up of the blood outside, and you know,
Well, and they're all looking for like a body, which, I
which
said
I
earlier in the podcast that there was some sort of chemical involved because I went through each way of body disposal, and that sounds horrible.
right,
Forgive me. But I saw that there was some sort of chemical like lye or introduced into this uh, because I went through burning the body and that came up no. And then I also went through burial and that came up no. So I think they knew right away that you know, they had to do something with the body itself.
right, and since he's a bio teacher, and evidently some people say he's taught CSI classes, so I could see where biology and chemicals might be his strong suit, but
Well,
from everything, the gossip is that he's gambles, or he's not good with money. So that if it's a trip up, it'll be over money. Like the money's gonna trip him up somehow. Like I could see
well,
that because
I didn't even know about the bio teacher thing. Like, I'm serious. I don't have time, guys, to watch the news and
oh
through all
no,
the,
I've been so obsessed, and I'm so
yeah.
sorry. Somebody recommended you on something called Monk's Intrigue, a different YouTube creator, and
Okay.
that's when I listened. I think you said it last time. You're like, "Oh, the numbers for the Nancy Guthrie." I think I've listened to every single one of those parts like 3 or 4 times over. Like that's how obsessed. I might have been driving the number just by me constantly rewinding and listening. I don't know if that like because I was so fascinated each and
Well,
every
thank
little
you.
thing you
Thank you.
said, and I was like
For
constantly
your
like
engagement. But
I'm so obsessed that I'm sorry I just jumped down. I was watching JLR and I was distracted, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait, it always happens on Friday. She has those. Maybe she's having, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just catching the tail end. So I can't
well,
wait to
you know what?
rewind and
I will
listen.
always announce it, and you'll notice that on YouTube that I also post pretty much every day on, I'll copy and paste the post from uh, Twitter first, then I go to Instagram, and then I repost it on YouTube just so everybody knows what's going on and what my schedule is.
Hmm.
So I'll usually announce whatever it is. So look for those posts
Right.
on YouTube because that's where I'll put it.
Yeah,
Um,
I just have to triple check, I guess. I mean it's getting quiet, no, there's no developments, and you can sort of tell like the general people who are as obsessed as me, I guess, who yeah, it's like we want answers. We want to know what happened, and there's going to be a lull in the information. You can kind of sense it, and so
well, for that, and unfortunately, that's when they bring someone like me into the mix.
right.
They don't bring us in. They don't bring the psychic profilers in, on the first day unless you're fairly progressed in this area
Hmm.
and they have worked with you before. Then they bring you in, but they don't do it publicly. They'll hide us. They'll use us, and then they'll go work the scene based on what we had seen. But my best work is remote. I actually get distracted if I'm right on top of the scene or right. I'm one of those that I don't need to touch the ground where it was. It's better if I stand back and I get a, a full view of the entire vista. Like I need the whole thing in front me with all the detail. And then what I do is I slow down the image and I slow it down so I can look, okay, what's on the ground? Okay, what's in front of me? What's to the side? And I'll ask myself those questions as I stop the scene from rotating and I look at it. And that's how I'm able to do this. I don't know why I'm able to do it, but that's how I work. So there you go.
That's
And
so. That's so. Isn't that amazing? That like how things are connected. That you know.
well,
I'm not saying you're not the only person but like
yeah,
that there's even this capacity. I'm just thinking of this one case where a woman was. It was like this quote unquote like she also had visions, and then the police kept going to her, and she basically described the scene from like you remotely, right? And then eventually it lined up, and then they found the body. But it's just like it's just so cool that you can do
well,
that. You know what I'm saying?
you know
Like,
what? I didn't know I could do it. In fact, when I first started, like my very first case, the the first thing that I thought was, out of all the psychic work that I do, like whether it's medium work or psychic readings privately or lecturing or because I would do a speaking tour every once in a while and I would go on a speaking tour with other psychics, um, and speak in front of 5,000 people, and I would do that, or I would talk about working on a crime scene or whatever it was. So I, when I first did it, I was like, out of all the things, the thing I became known for was the thing I liked least. Working on a crime scene, I like the absolute worst because I would never, it's not pleasant
right? Yeah, yeah.
and it's very intense. And, and because I have this need to solve a puzzle and I have OCD to a great degree, I can't stop until I'm done looking at whatever and so it's very time consuming.
And it's probably exhausting too. I would imagine be physically don't like you get tired. No, I mean I would think like
What's weird? I'm one of the few psychics that actually gets energized by it. So
oh
after
okay,
this podcast, for instance, it will take me many hours to wind down before I'm able to actually go to sleep tonight.
interesting. That's cool.
And when I was working on Haunting Evidence, same deal, and I did the psychic detectives pilot. I also like I'm so wound up from what I'm looking at. I can't fall asleep. So I just start doing other stuff online and whatever, just to or watching TV. But even then I can't concentrate on a movie or anything. I can't do anything because my mind is just so the vibration. I'm going at such a fast clip that I can't slow down and it takes like 4 or 5 hours. So that's a drawback. But other than that, so I get energized. I get the opposite. Like a lot of people get drained from what I've learned.
Right. Yeah.
They're so tired they need to go eat something and I'm so wound up that I'm burning energy like at a fast clip and I can't slow down. Like you can hear it in my voice. Like I
Mhm.
just I get
Yeah.
worked up. So sorry, I apologize. But I
No,
have to
no,
find
I
a way
feel
to.
bad because I'm coming at the end, and I probably
Oh,
could
it's
keep you
fine.
on for
I
like
would
more, but
I would rather have you in here getting the questions in than not. That's the whole reason for this. But usually it's on Fridays unless I state otherwise, and I'll always state it on my Twitter first. So
okay.
always just look there and I'll put it at the top. I'll pin it to the top. So and I'll announce it maybe the day before which one I'm doing. And that way you can schedule the time in. But
Thank
as
you
far
very much.
you're welcome, and thanks for coming by. Even at the end, I'm fine with it. All right. So if anybody else has any additional questions, anything we didn't cover tonight that you know is bothering you about this case, other than the horrors that this case brings, just go ahead and send me a request to speak, and I'll put you on, and we can get that question in, or otherwise we'll wrap it up for tonight. We covered a lot of ground. I saw some new information that was coming forward in a stronger fashion, so let's see if that pans out. And this again is a series, so this is part 4. We'll probably do part 5 when we see some more movement. And I will have this podcast up on all the platforms. YouTube, it tends to take a little longer, but it'll be up before midnight. And I will post. And if it's on YouTube and it goes from public to private, again, I'm going to make that announcement because some people were writing me. What happens is I upload this to my Spotify platform. That's where all of them emanate from, is the Spotify platform. I record it here on X, and then I transfer it very quickly and I upload it to Spotify. Then immediately it migrates to all the other platforms. So YouTube, for some reason, takes longer than most, and that's the one that takes the longest. During the night, sometime while I'm sleeping, what happens is after about 8 hours, it goes from public setting to private. Don't get scared. I'll put it back to public as soon as I wake up. It's the first thing I do on Saturday morning. So just know that that's going to happen. So if all of a sudden you're in the middle of the podcast and you go, what happened? When you go back and it's private, it's because of that. It's some sort of glitch in the matrix over there, and I've reported it. Hopefully they'll get that fixed sometime soon. But I appreciate all you guys coming in. All right, last call. Any last question on Nancy Guthrie tonight? And if not, I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to talk to you guys next time. But I appreciate everybody being here, and I love you guys. All right, have a good evening. Bye-bye.